In this video, we're going to be talking about all the things you should be looking out for when buying a vehicle and covering how not to get fooled when purchasing a vehicle. We had one 911 that was an incredible experience. You can catch that video. It's the Porsche 911 video right before this. And everything that can go wrong when buying a classic European vehicle. So we'll talk about all the good, the highs, the lows, and really have that checklist with you so that you don't get carried away by emotion and end up in a money pit. So stay tuned. All right, so there's always pros and cons to every vehicle, but we got to make sure that you get more positive than negative. Let's check out one of the positive things on this 911. Sounds pretty darn good, and that's because it came with some very tempting goodies that kind of blindsided me. It came along with the goodies of having the cat removed, the catalytic converters, that they can be removed through some actual quality piping. It came with an extra set of wheels. Both sets looked pretty good. Second set just needs work, so should have probably set off some red flags because the second set of wheels were for track days. The individual didn't say it, but I should have figured it. So you really need to be looking at your pros and cons and really kind of go through a checklist. And even it's probably a good idea to make a checklist of what you're going to review based on what you've read, the strengths and weaknesses of the car that you're shopping, and do a checklist. If you're not going to pay a mechanic to do a good mechanic, or if you can't find a really good mechanic to do a thorough checklist, you want to go through the checklist yourself. You know, how's the suspension? Had I been paying more attention, I would have known, okay, well, the rear shocks probably need to be changed, link kits need to be changed, it needs a battery, and I should have made a checklist and started to look online. What are these parts? What are they going to cost me? What's the cost of this vehicle? Not just think, wow, this vehicle looks great, I love the wheels, I love the extra lights, 2 sets of lights, 2 sets of wheels, I love the color, it's a manual red, and get taken away by all that. It's easy to let your emotions take control. There really needs to be a logical decision. You really need to be looking at this from a cost perspective, the way a business-minded individual looking to buy a business would kind of make a tally sheet. What is it going to cost me? What is it worth at the end after putting the money in? And really do a thorough instruction. But here's another problem with Porsche 911s. So here's a problem with Porsche 911s. If you drive one, it's really hard to not let your emotions get in the way because they are so much fun to drive, especially if you take it down a windy road through the mountains. You're probably gonna fall in love. So as much as I'm saying, do the test drive, it's so important. The problem is the test drive can become very emotional and take over your emotions, and you end up buying a lemon, or it's just something that, you know, is gonna require a lot more money into it than you have, or that is worth it. Because you need to look at how much is it worth when the project's done, how much money is it gonna take to get to that point. Like, for example, the Toyota MR2, I would have never expected a Toyota to need so much money, but the amount of money, the price we bought it for was fantastic, but now that we've put in, you know, this time of owning it, second time owning it, someone owned it in between, but this time owning it, putting, I don't know, $17,000 into it, maybe more like 20, well, plus the purchase price, well, if I sell it right now, I'm going to lose at least $10,000 to $15,000. So need to do that tally, that list. What's wrong? What is it going to cost me? And at the end of the day, yeah, you don't want to shop 10 different vehicles and get 10 vehicles properly inspected, so you end up spending $2,500 in inspections before you find the right one. But you certainly don't want to end up $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 upside down on a vehicle because you had to put so much money into it. And a car can go great, be a ton of fun, and still need, you know, a lot of money put into it. The radio in this doesn't work. Can I live without a radio? Yes. Is it annoying? Yes. Can I live with the check engine light on? Yes. Is it annoying? Yes. Does it stress me? Yes, because it could be an issue that could lead to the engine blowing. But with no colored exhaust, great acceleration, perfect idle, the exhaust is invisible in the back, other than if it's cold and wet, you know, it might have a little condensation in it. But once it's warmed up, no color whatsoever. Mechanically, it seems really great, but again, emotions. If you don't have that checklist to go through, you're likely gonna end up in a wee bit of trouble. So I'm hoping this video so far is helpful. If so, please do hit that like button, share it with a friend, someone that can use a little bit of a reminder of how important it is to inspect vehicles. Make your checklist, because I told myself I was going to do the checklist and I was going to go through the list that has made it so I've bought so many cars in my life and have had success. But one of the rare times that emotion really took over, and emotion could very well take over your next car purchase. So do remember this, make your checklist right now to go through just everything you can think of that's on a vehicle. Make your checklist. Engine, exhaust, you know, the sounds, the colors, the idling. You can always ask ChatGPT on exactly what to go through, but it is good to research the exact vehicle you're going to look for those common problems. Now let's get to the next part. So from the back end, it looks pretty much like every single other Porsche 911. These things are only going to go up in value because these have been really unloved and underappreciated. Get to the front here, because of the lights. That's why they've been really unappreciated, and because the IMS bearing, which is, well, we talked about that in the video. If you get a 1999 Porsche 911, your chances of having problems are less than 1%, less than 0.8%. So very, very rare. If you get one built after June 2000, well, then you're usually playing around 5 to 10% chance of, well, having the engine blow. So that's the IMS bearing. You can have that switched out, and with these you can get them for, well, what is it, like a 90s, a really nice clean 90s 911 is going to cost you about $150,000 to $250,000 Canadian. One of these, you're going to buy it for about $25,000 to $40,000, and the turbo model has no issues at all. Actually, there's one Porsche 911 turbo of this generation that is owned by an individual who commutes to Boston, and he's just passed the 1 million mile mark, and he's working towards getting, actually passed it several years ago. He's working to get to 2 million miles in his turbo Porsche. But this has been a bit of a nightmare, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. I bought it from an engineer, and when I went into buying the black 911, also buying it from an engineer, I really only knew about the IMS somewhat, and I didn't know if the vehicle would have all sorts of other problems. I didn't know all its quirks, all its issues. So I really, really studied that vehicle before purchasing. Whereas with this one, I fell in love with the wheels. So let's take a look. I made the #1 purchasing mistake. I got emotional. I fell for the lights that I really liked. They weren't installed, but I had seen pictures, and I'd completely fallen for the lights. I had completely fallen for these deep dish wheels that I had seen in the photos. I fell in love with the fact that it had 2 sets of wheels, and because I was buying it from an engineer with a perfect interior, because of those 2 factors, I really assumed that the vehicle was going to be perfect, that an engineer would keep his vehicle just perfect. But before making a full assumption, and I knew that the IMS bearings almost never go on these 1999s, I started it up, and the dashes, the needles worked. I didn't even take it out for a test drive. Huge mistake, because I looked underneath, everything looked clean, there wasn't any oil, and the exhaust was clear. And I ignored the rest. And it's unfortunate, because here's the nightmare part about it. I should have looked closely and studied it with over one winter Well, the clear coat's already come off there. Clear coat has come off here, and while pressure washing the vehicle, half of the clear coat has come off the front bumper. So I resprayed it really quickly just in the meantime so that the paint doesn't get affected. I'm gonna try to re-sand this properly, and then I'm gonna re-clear the whole front end. But the whole paint job essentially has the clear coming off. So a proper paint job's about $8,000 to $10,000. And I missed all that because of how good the wheels looked, the lights looked. The top, well, it didn't have this gapping. That's not much of a big deal. That's a cable. But I didn't go into enough detail. Wonderful back end of these 911s. I ignored the little dents here because, you know, that's an easy, quick fix. But I ignored my usual, you know, checking everything over details. I didn't do my road test. That's really pathetic of me on my part. And well, that's when I started to have problems driving it back home after paying. Well, one, it was a lot of trouble to get started. Ended up being the battery. So we boosted it, so I needed a battery. No big deal, but a Porsche battery can cost you about $600 to $800. We got the non-Porsche approved battery for, nonetheless, a good one was still $400. We've got the paint issue. We've got a hydraulic piston in the back for the convertible top. That's gone, and they're $1,500 each, and once one goes, you should switch both of them. So we're gonna have those rebuilt because on sale they're $2,000 from Porsche, but on sale through Pelican parts they're $1,500 each. We've got this check engine that popped up, so I didn't test to see if a check engine would pop up, and it did. And thankfully it's likely just a ground issue, but every time I start the vehicle, the clock resets. The radio doesn't come off because it goes in stolen mode. So I fell for the good looks of the vehicle. And the engine is doing absolutely fantastic. You know, the engine's great, so I didn't make any errors there. But the wheels, the lights, the color of the car, that's hard to find a red in this generation for my area. I ignored a lot of important things. So folks, the lesson to be learned here is do not let your emotions get in the way. Bring a second person who's going to be, that you know is going to be unbiased, and even maybe bring someone who's going to be a little bit negative to give you that reality check so you don't end up in a situation like I am. So we've sold the black, the really clean, pretty near perfect black one, because that just had aesthetic issues. But this has mechanical issues, and they cost a lot of money, like those hydraulic pumps. Like finally could take 5, 10, or 15 hours just to find what wire is cut and grounding out on something, or maybe it's just the engine ground. So far we spent 7 hours paying mechanics to try to find the issue with the grounding out vehicle, making the check engine in code P1539 if I recall. So folks, do your homework. Ideally have it inspected. And over all these years, we've almost always come out on top doing our inspections ourselves, because I know vehicles pretty decently. But I made a mistake on this one. Don't make the same mistake I did. I hope this has been extremely helpful, and if it has, please like, subscribe, and do join the community. Drop a comment. If you made it this far, drop the comment finisher. If you have any questions, any comments, talk about what summer vehicle you have. Would love to hear about it. Till next time, folks, I wish you all more cars and more power, and hope you get to put the pedal to the metal to a car that you love sometime real soon.